Hello and welcome to another section in further mathematics. In this section we'll be looking at conditional statement. Now conditional statement have to be a subtopic under the topic logic. It's a subtopic under the topic logic. But before that, let us review the previous lesson. Okay, welcome back. Now, when we're talking about a conditional statement in further maths, we are just referring to statements that are written in the form if B then C. Now if you want to go into detailed explanation, you see that sometimes you might have two statements, like what we have in front of us here is let P stand for the statement Banjul is a state in Gambia. Now Banjul is a state in Gambia implies P implies Banjul. Now and Q stands for the statement Banjul is a state in Africa. Now you've seen the two sentences that have been underlined. Now I told you something, that in logic our area of concentration is usually focused on, at first you confirm if the sentence is actually a statement. So Banjul is a state in Gambia can be verified. It might be true that Banjul is a state in Gambia, and at the same time it might not be true that Banjul is a state in Gambia. So we can use this for logic. So this is a statement. Now the other way around, we still have Banjul is a state in Africa. Now if you bring all the states in Africa, is Banjul in Africa? I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. Now one way the two sentences can be combined is if Banjul is a city in Gambia, then now look at the rule I stated earlier, that when you talk of conditional statement, it said if, then this is a sentence, then the second sentence. So now we now say the sentence can be written if Banjul is a city in Gambia, then Banjul is in Africa. Because if Banjul is a city in Gambia and Gambia is in Africa, then Banjul is in Africa. So it is usually written in this form: if Banjul is a city or a state in Gambia, then you see the two commanding word that made it a conditional statement, if and then Banjul is a city in Africa. Now this is how to write a conditional statement. There should be if and we have then. Now I told you something about drawing a truth table on conditional statement. Now from what you can see in front of you, P, let's use the same sentence, Banjul is in Africa. That's the first comment. Banjul is in Africa. That happens to be, so this is called the truth table. This is the truth table of how to represent some sentences. Now you can see that if Banjul is in Africa, then 8 is an even number. This is a conditional statement because we have if, we have then, we have if, we have then, we have if, we have then, we have if, we have then. So this is a conditional statement. Now if since we've confirmed the fact that it's a conditional statement, now another thing I want us to go into consideration is on how to present it on the logical. This is called the logical truth table. Now this is a logical truth table. When you want to present a conditional statement, you use the word implication, which means it implies, and the symbol for implication is thus. You write it this way, like this. So this, it simply means this implies this. So we are here, we say if Banjul is in Africa, then 8 is an even number. Okay, now let's go. Let's start splitting the statement. Banjul is in Africa, so this is true. Let's deal with the first sentences. Banjul is in Africa, the second one, so this is also true. Then Banjul is in Asia is false, because Banjul is in Africa. Banjul is in Asia, so this is false. So we have truth, truth, false, false. That's the first part. Now let's go into analyzing the second part, because the then separates the two sentences, because they are generally a compound sentence. Now let's go into and picking out the two sentences. But before we go into that, now the sentence that comes before if is called the antecedent. So for example, here Banjul is in Africa. This sentence is called the antecedent, while the next one that comes after the then, 8, is an even number, and this other one will be called the consequent. Now watch my the write-up. I said antecedent, not antecedents, and the second sentence is called the consequent. So from now henceforth, we'll be referring to, if we find any compound sentence, we'll be calling the first one, we'll be addressing it as the antecedent. The second one, we're calling it the consequent. Now let's go to the first sentence. We have if Banjul is in Africa. So the antecedent of this sentence signifies truth, because Banjul is in Africa. Banjul is in Africa, same, correct. Banjul is in Asia, the antecedent is wrong, and Banjul is in Asia, which shows that the antecedent is also wrong. Then separates the two sentences. Now let's come to this other side. 8 is an even number, so this is called what? The consequent. Now 8 is an even number, which is very correct. So let the sentences here serve as Q, and this one serves as P from the table. So 8 is an even number, so this is true. 8 is an odd number, is false. 8 is an even number, is true. And 8 is an odd number, is false. So the table here is correct. Now let's come to this part. Now I said if you have if and then you use this sign, just like what I displayed here, to show that this is a sign of implication. So this means P implies Q. Now let me tell you the rule that we usually apply whenever we are dealing with conditional statement. Now when you're dealing with conditional statement, now watch. If Banjul is in Africa, then it is an even number. Remember, these two sentences are not even linked together. So if Banjul is in Africa, 8 is an even number. So in conditional statement, when you have truth and truth, the response, which happens to be the implication, is also truth. You use truth. Now, if Banjul is in Africa, which is correct, then 8 is an odd number. It's wrong. 8 is never an odd number. But remember, there is no link between these, because it's possible that Banjul can be in Africa and 8 will not be an even number. So, but here we are mostly interested in the second part of it. The only place we are much interested in this thing is when we get to the last sentence. I will show you statement. I'll show you. Now here, if Banjul is in Africa, then 8 is odd. 8 is never an odd number. I don't know if you understand. So you put a false here. Then if Banjul is in Asia, which is false, 8 is an even number. Banjul is not in Asia, but there's something they use in when you're talking about the truth table here. Now our interest, our focus is usually on the last sentence, which is then, since they are not related. You watch 8 being an even number doesn't have anything to do with Banjul being in so you cannot tell me because Banjul is in Asia then 8 should be an even number. There's no relationship, they are not related. So you can't use the idea here to judge here. So we are mostly interested in the second part of the sentence. So if Banjul is in Africa, that's the antecedent. So the major controller of this is usually the consequence, because consequence happens to be the result of anything. So you judge a logical statement from the consequence. So like here I will say 8 is an even number. You placed it here. True. 8 is an odd number. False. You place it. 8 is an even number. Truth. You place it. Remember we have the antecedent that is appearing here, but we are not using it to judge. In a conditional statement, the only place you think of this if the both answers are wrong. Like you say, if Banjul is in Asia, then 8 is an odd number. That is to tell you that if Banjul is not in Asia, then 8 will not be an odd number, which is true. This is the final conclusion. So when you have false, it's true. But every other statement you judge from the consequence. So you forget about the antecedent. You lay more emphasis on the consequence in choosing your implication. But one of the things you do is whenever you have two odd, that is false in a compound sentence, then your result is usually the truth, because if Banjul is in Asia, then 8 is odd. But if Banjul is not in Asia, then 8 is not an odd number, which is true. So that is the essence of putting the truth table. I think with this you are well okay with the full detailed explanation of the conditional statement. But to refresh your memory on what we've just discussed, take the test that will be appearing on your screen, and also do well to use this lesson notes on the platform for a better information on the topic we've discussed. Thank you.